And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I have missed you guys from last football season. And for those who also have been listening throughout the year, I've missed you from the hockey playoffs. Yes, Grade A Fantasy is back. And you know it's my favorite time of the year. It is the Hall of Fame game, which means for us DFS and fantasy football players, it's soon time to ramp up your draft research. It's soon time to get ready for price dropping. DraftKings already dropped their pricing. So that means normally every year when they drop their pricing, FanDuel normally drops theirs maybe about a week after or so. So it is just a fun time to be playing DFS. This will be a how to play on preseason DFS showdown anyway, and then of course with a little obviously it correlates into a preseason slate, and then on top of that also what to look forward to in the preseason game itself between the Lions and the Chargers. Or I should say Chargers at the Lions, but they're really not at anywhere. They will be playing at the Hall of Fame Stadium. But anyway, before we get into the how-tos, let's get into a little game history. When it comes to that, game history since, and we're only going to go back to 2000. We don't need to go all the way back from 61 and 70 and whatever the case is. But pretty much the trend of this game from 2000. 10 times this game has went up, and I just decided to just throw, because you're not going to get a lot of shootouts, so I decided to throw out a low number. So from what I see is when you choose the number of 30, only 10 times has this game went above that game total. 12 went under, 1 pushed, and then obviously going back from 2000 back to last year's game, 2020 there was no game because of COVID. 2016 the game was canceled because of field conditions, and 2011 was the lockout. So, and then last year was an anomaly because it turned out to be a great scoring game, but guess what? Torrential rains and then coming in thunderstorms. They only let that game. They waited it out for an extra half hour and then they decided just to call it. So that game went over 30. Asterisk, it did it over halftime, but it still went over 30. But the good thing trending, if it continues that way, 3 of the last 4 games have gone over 30, including last year's rainout. So possibly the at least decent scoring trend continues. So what's new on FanDuel? Well, FanDuel overall has adjusted to the DraftKings strategy. So now that you have, as you can see here, if I pick flex, you see these guys here at 8,000. But if I go back and I pick them at MVP, you see them at 12,000. So yes, now we have, instead of just point multipliers, we have salary multipliers. But on top of that, it's a good thing because we only have to worry about we don't have to worry. It's a slightly longer roster, so you have to incorporate that one extra person. Obviously, with that multiplier, it was basically your MVP and then like 4 other roster spots. Now we have an extra one to deal with. So, just a little twist. My first time playing it like this year, but I have been playing, the single game format regardless. So just a nice little twist. Now, keys of the game and how to play and how to approach DFS while we also preview the slate. Number one is the ultimate, you're not winning anything unless you have your kickers and your these are people that should be 30 something percent is low in a slate like this. So you should have both defenses or at least a defense in the lineup, because obviously if a defense is, if the trend continues then, 30 whatever, you're going to want the defense that's, if the score is 31-16, you want the defense that probably got a few sacks and only gave up 16 points. So obviously Chargers defense, Lions defense, as you can see there, Jake Bates from Detroit. But here's the funny thing. As I scroll down, what did FanDuel do wrong? Obviously, we all know Najee Harris with that eye issue is not going to play. Luke Deal most likely probably won't play. Well, what do you have here? Yeah, there goes the Detroit defense. You don't have San Diego's kicker. Good job, FanDuel. I mean, how else can you mess this up? Like, seriously. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm just flabbergasted at the mistake that was made right there. But as you can see here, I need to get some of this stuff off. Oh, there we go. Got it off the screen and get this back up here. But like I said, kickers, as long as they're not in a job battle, like they drafted somebody late. Kickers are going to play the whole game. This is the preseason. The starters never start. This is not how, like, back in the 80s and 90s, you still at least had, the crowd came out there for the Hall of Fame weekend, so they at least get to see the starters for, like, one drive. Like, you never saw anybody for a quarter, even in the old school days. One drive, maybe two, and that was it. So both sides, the starters are sitting. So we're going to get a lot of, looks at the backups and things like that. Another step two is you have to pay attention to cuts and inactives. People can get cut. Inactives, people are injured. As you can see, there's still people nursing some injuries before this game even kicks off. So pay attention to those pieces of news to see if anybody gets scratched late. And most importantly, along with cuts and inactives, the coach speak. The coach speak is definitely something you need to pay attention to. And obviously, we started getting news yesterday. The domino dropped with Harbaugh stating that he was going to start Trey Lance. He also said that the Chargers are going to play, some of their outstanding rookies. So on top of that, Trey Lance. Here's the thing with Trey Lance. Trey Lance, great option because, came out high heralded a few years ago. Unfortunately, he broke his ankle with the 49ers. That's when Brock Purdy took the job. And then, it became Trey Lance bouncing from, Dallas. And then he became the backup here. So, he's just trying to solidify himself. And, just trying to get into the good graces of the league, showing that he still has something. But for this personal game, multi-talented quarterback, can run, can do a lot. And Harbaugh did say he is going to get half. He's going to get half the game. So if Trey Lance is getting half the game, the unrestricted free agent DJ Uiagalelei will get next starts. Let me see if I can find these people before I just start talking about it, because I actually wanted to talk about, we'll talk about the quarterbacks that are playing, of course. And then, like I said, Jared Goff. There goes Trey Lance. Trey Lance, like I said, solid dual threat. He's getting the entire half. Justin Herbert not playing, so Taylor Heineke will play basically the fourth. Most cases, when you see a quarterback get the half, if he's either going to get the whole half or he gets the first quarter and maybe most of the second, and they might throw a guy in a drive before possibly they can get it back for the 2-minute warning. But Taylor Heineke is going to get the fourth quarter. He's getting the fourth quarter. DJ Uiagalelei. He is going to be either, from what Harbaugh says, he's the third quarter guy. And then, like I said, Taylor Heineke, who's already established in this league, he will get the end of the game. Now, there goes Taylor Heineke right there. So now, on the Lions side, all starters are going to sit. Oh, and that's another key, too. Yeah, just don't beat these guys. Like, the starters just don't play. It happens, surprisingly, this happens way more on DraftKings. I was watching a bunch of videos, and they were almost in the range per contest, 29% to 31% of lineups with people who got ruled out last, people playing starters, people get hyped for playing big names, and they can play this guy and that guy. Like, it doesn't go. These mistakes are still being made, so people, stop it. I mean, it works better for me and the people who are paying attention, but come on, we at least like a fight with this thing or whatever. So let's continue with the Lions. Yeah, we'll continue with the Lions, and then we'll go to the opposite side. We won't do it by position. So, outs. No. We'll continue with the Chargers. I mean, since we spoke about Heineke and stuff like that, and then of course you just got to do your own research on looking on the depth charts and who's gonna jump in with who, so you can look at the groupings. When it comes to unofficial depth charts for Los Angeles, in most cases, if Trey Lance is going to be there, most likely he's going to get to play with the two young stud wideouts, Trey Harris and Keandre Lambert. And then, of course, he'll be out there with Omarion Hampton the entire time. Good dual threat guy. So Hampton is looking to possibly get a quarter of action. But like I said, Trey Lance is going to be maybe more heavily owned than maybe some of the defense, even though the defenses play the whole game. No matter what the defense does, they switch in and out, but you're still going to rack up points. You go still lose points. But along with that, there goes Trey Harris, one of the rookies, and then you'll have Keandre Lambert, And you also might be looking at Darius Davis. I like Darius Davis. There was a lot of reports of him hooking up. If I could find him, I just need to start typing in these names instead of doing this scrolling thing. But Darius Davis, if freaking oh, and that's another thing with the running back situation. If I'm not mistaken, Vidal might, like I said, Vidal's dealing with an injury. No, it's Vacky dealing with an injury. So we'll just have to see. And one of the first names that popped up, and he is making great strides in the preseason. Oronde Gadsden, the tight end. I mean, it's going to be tough for him to make the team. Damn it. He should. There we go. Oronde Gadsden. He's going to be tight end. More than likely, he'll be on the field with Trey Lance a bit. It's pretty dangerous to try and stack with, in preseason. I like doing it, especially now with the DraftKings style, because now you get that extra roster spot. So maybe Trey Lance does hit the tight end and gets Gadsden in a way. You could do it that way. He has made some amazing plays this preseason. He has been heralded a lot for being 6'5", big with a ton of athleticism. But yeah, there you go with the highly touted rookie, the first round pick of Marion Hampton. Like, there's just so much to be excited about with some of these young players, especially the wide receivers. Like, the receiver, Omarion Hampton, he's a heralded rookie. You're not going to want to tire him out. They're probably going to give him maybe 2 drives. I think Omarion might play 2 drives, or at least the first quarter. But it's all about, a lot of these guys now have a lot of hype behind them, because now with the absence of Mike Williams, that's the extra spot that somebody has to, battle for. So, obviously, behind Quentin Johnson, Ladd McConkey, like I said, it's Trey Harris, Lambert Smith. I don't think Jalen Reagor plays, but I won't be so much interested in him. And like I said, the wide receiver, Darius Davis, is there. And then, like I said, you have everybody else that's going to be playing late that, do some things with Taylor Heineke. But if not so, I really do like the wide receivers for LA and the tight end Gadsden. Like I said, my favorite play is on that side is Trey Lance and Gadsden, and then obviously the kick in the defense, and then everybody else underneath. Now let's take a look at the Detroit side. The Detroit side, pretty straightforward. Nobody is, none of the starters are playing. The starting quarterback, Hendon Hooker. Now, why is that a big thing? Like I said, the plays for the Hall of Fame game at quarterback are pretty interesting this year. And why is that? Well, Hendon Hooker played last year. He won the backup job last year because of his preseason performance. And like Trey Lance, he's an even bigger threat to run the ball. Hendon Hooker last year in preseason, in the 3 games of action, threw for 300. Also, though, here's the key. He ran for a touchdown off 19 carries, or you could say rushes, scrambles, for 138 yards. So Hooker gets the start. Hooker will get the start, and then it's just Kyle Allen. So even more simpler. You don't have to worry about a third quarterback. It's literally 2 guys that's going to get 1/2 and 1/2. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The only way one of these guys leave a game or whatever, they get hurt, and they got to bring somebody back in. So you got Hendon Hooker, and then just like Heineke, you also got Kyle Allen, somebody else who's been moving around the league, who has experience in the league. So, but out of these 2, without a doubt, it will be Hendon Hooker, who will be one of my favorite plays. I like that. Now on the skill side, we have the wide receivers Isaiah Tesla and Dominique Leggett. Tesla making a whole lot of noise himself, and just because of his physical attributes, he's just catching a lot of attention in practice right now. So with Isaac Tesla, the rookie, he third round pick. Isaac Tesla is 6'4", 214 with a 4.43. So more than likely he'll be starting with Hendon Hooker. That's a little mini stack there. When it comes to Dominic Levitt, he's made some great catches and he's made some great on the ball, like jump for the ball and beat the other cornerback for the grab at the peak of the jump. So you have to like that there with his aggressiveness. But what I really like here is the running back setup. The running back setup is pretty simple. So obviously, I doubt if Craig Reynolds plays. He is somewhat of a vet. I know Gibbs and Montgomery not playing. I don't think Craig Reynolds plays. So behind that, you still have 4 running backs trying to make the team. And if I could make it here, I will have... Damn, I can't get this guy's name. He should be here. So there's a running back named Vacky. Vacky has a hamstring injury. So more than likely, it's leaning that they won't rush him. But Smalls, Jabari Small, and Sayers seem to be the 2 guys that are possibly 2 free agents, or possibly going to see a lot more. Especially, it's going to be a clearer running back situation with no Vacacion. There goes Jabari right there. And then if we could just erase this one right there, Sailors. There, nope. If he's in the, I wouldn't even trust it if they mess this up. He has to be here. Yeah, probably not. So let's see if FanDuel adds a couple of people to the player pool, because FanDuel also doesn't have one of the kickers are freaking missing. So, but Jabari Small, Jacob Sailors, and then you got Kyle Robichaux. These are all guys that should be all should have a even more open chance to play. There goes Isaac Tesla, Zylstra, and some of these other guys. But some of the guys that I just talked about, I do not see them here. So, there goes Jabari Small. So there goes, we already smoked Jabari Small. Like I said, I don't know about Craig Reynolds, DJ Ulele, but Kimani Vidal. There goes Kimani Vidal. But that's on the opposite side. So, yeah, I don't know. So, hey, looks like my video is exposing FanDuel's faults for leaving out a couple of guys, and most importantly, a kicker. You definitely need a kicker in these kind of games. But there you go, the quick rundown of the preseason game. Preseason Hall of Fame game. Always love kicking this show off. So remember, keys. You're going to have to pay attention definitely hour or so before the game to see if people could warm up, people doubtful. Pay attention during the day as people do get ruled out because of health reasons. And like I said, even if though they don't play in the Hall of Fame game, doesn't mean they're automatically going to get cut. It's kind of a showcase game. People already got cut. After the Hall of Fame game, though, people could still get cut even before the next preseason game, because that's when teams start having joint practices and having joint 7-on-7 drills. So you can kind of see what's going on with these guys with those kind of situations. But once again, kickers and defense are most important when FanDuel puts them in the game. Cuts and inactives, people can still get cut. People might not make the trip. Pay attention to that. Coach speak, if you hear anything else about something where they want to try and get this guy together and that guy together. Plus, pay attention to the depth chart. Who's going to be coming in with who? If you see a quarterback, the backup quarterback most likely is going to play with the second and third wide receivers. And then those 2 guys in the second half are going to get like the 4th and 5th receivers, stuff like that. It's simpler for the Lions because they only got 2 quarterbacks. So you're looking at possibly a half and half split. You're going to have to look at the updated depth charts on both the Lions and the Chargers web pages. That's definitely the best information I can give you. But hey, let's see if we can at least get another decent scoring game. Like I said, 3 of the last 4 have been excellent games. Scoring-wise anyway, for a preseason anyway. Can't complain about that. But that is the end of that. Let's get into these contests. I already got 25 already set. We'll probably work on a couple of more. Any more information I can give would be, yeah, out of the last 3 games, and like I said, severe thunderstorm warning. 2022, Raiders 27, Jags 11. 2023, Jets 16, Browns 21. 2024, 21-16 at half, and then got rained out between Texans and the Bears. So 2021 was the last time we didn't hit 30. Let's see if we could go for 4 more. But overall, in this game here, yes, FanDuel, we know the update. Overall, in this game here, it looks like that 3 max already filled, and they started another contest. So that $3.35 max is filling while we are getting close to about 27 hours. And out of 4,629 people, we are just getting over 1,320. Would not be surprised since it's preseason and it's $9 per entry. There is a tad bit of overlay in this contest. And more than likely, you're not going to get many satellites because it's a little too crazy, whatever, to try and get that. But anyway, satellites for the Millie opening summer. But here's the main things. Favorite plays, like I said, I gave you that. Hopefully we get another decent scoring streak for a game. Kickers, defense most important. Who are my favorite plays? We're going to go both quarterbacks that start in the game. Hooker for the Lions, Trey Lance for the Chargers. Favorite wide receivers. Running back is definitely going to be a Mario Hampton, but obviously you got to do your own research to check on other stuff because obviously he's not going to play the whole game. Favorite wide receivers, I like Isaac Tesla from the Lions. I like both the wide receivers. All 3 wide receivers have made their name, but my favorite receiver is the tight end, Oronde Gadsden. And then after that, I guess you go with Trey Harris. But top plays will be both kickers, both defenses. For LA, Trey Lance, Oronde Gadsden, obviously the rookie of Mario Hampton. And then obviously Detroit, I already mentioned the kickers and the defense. And I like Hooker and Isaac Tesla are my favorite plays. I'll be sure to get to them. Thank you once again. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back to preseason football. Hope the tips worked out. Good luck with your lineups. And this is the first time I'm saying it in 2025 in the football season. And looking to say it many more. This is Grade A Fantasy, signing off.